Good morning students. Hope you are all fine at home. So in today's class we are going to see a poem. Okay. The topic of the poem is My Shadow. My Shadow. And this poem was written by Robert Louis Stevenson. Repeat after me. Robert Louis Stevenson. And this poem is only for your reading activity. Okay, so this won't be asked for your written exam. This is for your reading activity. Shall we read the poem? Okay, let me read the first stanza. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. And what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The second stanza. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball and sometimes gets slow little that there's none of him at all. I'll read it once again for you. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. Listen the pronunciation carefully, okay? And what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. So what has been said in the first line? I have a little shadow. Do you all have a shadow, children? Has anyone noticed your shadow? Yes, we all have shadows. We can able to see it in the dark. So I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. That goes in and out with me. So it follows me. Okay, the shadow will follows me. It comes before and after me. So I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. And what can be the use of it is more than I can see. And what can be the use of him? So I have a shadow, but I don't know. So I don't know what's the use of my shadow. I can able to see my shadow, but I can't able to identify that what is the use of him. He is very like me from the heels up to the head. He is very like me. So how the shadow looks like? Yes, the shadow looks like me. Okay, so the shadow looks like me. From head to the toe. Okay, this means the toe. From head to the toe, the shadow looks like me. And I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. And I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. So when I go to my bed, what happens? So before I jump, my shadow jumps before than me. So that was said in the first stanza. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. Have you understood this first stanza, students? Shall we move on to the next one? The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. So, what's the funniest thing about the shadow? Yes, it will be very bigger than us. Okay, it will be very bigger than us. So, that's the funniest thing about the shadow. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. He likes to grow bigger than us. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. So the children will grow stage by stage, okay, according to their age. So this shadow is not like the proper children, okay. So the shadow is compared to the children. So the shadow is not growing like that children. So not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. So the children will grow slow, but the shadow does not. For he shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball. So this shadow is compared to the Indian rubber ball. So what is meant by Indian rubber ball? Look at here. Indian rubber ball means a ball that can bounce very high. Okay, so it's nothing but it's a ball. Okay, it's a ball. When we bounce the ball, when we put the ball down, what happens? It will bounce very high. Okay, so this shadow is compared to the Indian rubber ball, and sometimes gets so little that none of him at all. So sometimes it will seem to be like very taller, and sometimes it will be very smaller. Okay, so and sometimes gets so little that there is no one. Sorry, that's none of him at all. So this is what we say. The second stanza. Okay, children, shall we read from first? I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head. Okay, H-E-E-L-S, heels, H-E-A-D, head. I can see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing, okay, F-U-N-N-I-E-S, the funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, okay, proper, P-R-O-P-E-R, proper children, C-H-I-L-D-R-E-N, children, which is always very slow. For he shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball. Shoots, S-H-O-O-T-S, shoots. And sometimes gets so little that there is none of him at all. And sometimes gets so little that there is none of him at all. I'll read the hard words once again. Indian rubber balls. What is the meaning of Indian rubber ball? A ball that can bounce very high. Bounce, B-O-U-N-C, bounce. Okay, so the Indian rubber ball means a ball that can bounce very high. Have you understood these two stanzas, students? Okay, students, last stanza of the poem. One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup, that my lazy little shadow, like an arrant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. I'll read it once again. One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup, but my lazy little shadow, like an arrant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. So what has been said in the first line? One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. Okay, so morning, how the morning will be? Yes, the morning, the sun will rise. Okay, so one morning, very early. Okay. Before the sun, I was up. So the speaker says that so before the sun rises, I got up. Okay, I was up means I got up before the sun rises in the early morning itself. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. So I rose means I woke up. Okay. So rose is the past tense of rise. Okay. So I woke up and found the shining dew. So what is he found? He found the shining dew. Shining dew means the water drops. Okay, so the droplets. So I found the shining droplets on every buttercup. So what is the meaning of buttercup? A yellow flower. Okay, a yellow flower. So the speaker is saying the shining drops on the yellow flowers. But my lazy little shadow like an arrant sleepy head. So how the shadow was? The shadow was very lazy. Okay, it seems to be very lazy. And what is doing? How it looks like? Like an arrant sleepy head. Okay, arrant means very bad. Arrant means bad and arrant sleepy head. but during the night time it will fall very fast before me. Okay, it goes to bed before than I go. So that was, it has been said in this tense. Okay, so one morning very early before the sun I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup, but my lazy little shadow, like an arrant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. Okay. So what is the spelling of shining? S-H-I-N-I-N-G, shining. Dew, D-E-W. Dew means the drops. Buttercup, B-U-T-T-E-R-C-U-P, buttercup. Lazy, L-A-Z-Y, lazy. Shadow, S-H-A-D-O-W, shadow. Arrant, A-R-R-A-N-T, arrant. Sleepy head, S-L-E-E-P-Y, H-E-A-D, sleepy head. Behind, B-E-H-I-N-D, behind. Asleep, A-S-L-E-E-P, asleep. Okay, children, hope you all know how to read this stanza. Okay, so let me read the hard words once again. Buttercup means a yellow flower. Okay, buttercup, a yellow flower. Arrant, bag. Arrant, bag. Arrant, sleepy head. Completely inattentive. Arrant, sleepy head. Completely inattentive. Okay, students, next we are going to see the picture comprehension. Okay, so the picture comprehension. So what does mean by picture comprehension? Picture comprehension means first you will be given a picture. Okay, so you have to observe the given picture and have to answer the questions given below using the picture. Okay, so in picture comprehension there are some rules you have to follow. So the first one is you have to observe the given picture. Okay, you have to observe each and everything in the picture, and then you have to analyze it, and you have to go to the questions and have to write the answer. Okay, so this is called picture comprehension. So you can able to see the picture here. So I have written some clue words for this picture comprehension. So the first clue word is plumber, painter, mason, electrician, laborer, carpenter, gardener. Okay, so using these clues you are going to do this picture comprehension. Okay, so in this picture what do you observe? Yes, so what is the plumber doing? Is there any plumber in the picture? No, there is no plumber. Okay, is there any painter? Yes, there is a painter. And is there any mason? What is meant by mason? Yes, a mason means a person one who builds house. Okay, a person one who builds house is known as a mason. Is there any mason in the picture? Yes, there is a mason. And is there any electrician? Are you able to find? Yes, there is an electrician. So what is the electrician doing there? Yes, he is doing some electrical works. Okay, so the electrician is doing some electrical works. Laborer. Laborer. So who is called as a laborer? A person one who works. Okay, a person one who helps or works for wages. They are called as laborer. Is there any laborer in the picture? Yes. So what he is doing? He is helping the electrician. He is holding the ladder. Okay, the electrician is standing on the ladder and he is holding it. And who is the carpenter? Person who works with the wooden things. Okay, they are the carpenter. Is there any carpenter? No, there is no carpenter. And last, gardener. Okay, so there is also no gardener. So in this picture you can see the plumber, the mason, electrician, the laborer. Okay, have you understood? Now let us move on to the questions. So after observing the picture, what we have to do? We have to analyze some things. Okay, so after analyzing, we have to read the questions. First question: who is laying the bricks? Okay, who is laying the bricks? The second one: who is holding the ladder? Who is holding the ladder? The third question: who is the man on the ladder? Okay, who is the man on the ladder? Who is making the door? Who is making the door? Who is painting the walls? Okay, who is painting the walls? So now I have read the questions. So after that, what I am going to do? I am going to write the answer for this questions. Okay, from the answer from the given picture. Have you understood how to do the picture comprehension, students? Okay, students, and this is for your home assignment. Write the hard words meanings in your classwork